The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to episode 104 of The Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on The Catholics of Oz. Hello, I'm Lindsay, Sant, and welcome to episode 104 of The Catholics of Oz. So good to have you with us. Today I am joined by Lino, Saubolle, my soccer mad brother. We're just a bit voiceless, some of us today. So yeah, Lino, how you going today, Lino?
I'm doing well, Lindsay. Yes, a great tournament this year.
Yeah.
Like everyone in the media, we are disappointed, but we are absolutely proud of the Matildas.
So proud of them.
So proud of them. Look, when we watched that game, England were very tactical.
Yes.
We'll talk about this in the entertainment section.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later on.
I just want to say that, they were very tactical. I was even telling Lindsay and our gang, we're at a WhatsApp chat that England's possession were just possession, like playing keepings off.
Yeah.
And just running the Australians back and forth. And to Matilda's credit, they kept up with them.
Yes.
It kept up with
so
them.
true.
It's just that little pass that England do.
Yeah.
I don't know if
that it's got around, just got through.
Dinky pass, the little tap. It sort of caught us off guard.
Yeah.
But it was a great tournament, great match. Great. And look, at the time of the recording, was it next Sunday, Lindsay? Well, the Matildas are still got one more game to play.
Yeah, today. Yes, the time of recording.
Yeah, that's correct. Tonight. Tonight.
So if I have any voice left, it's gone tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, this is look, it's not over for them, and they're going to give it their all, and which they have been doing for the whole tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
And I hope everything goes well for them, and I hope the future of women's sport, in a sense, gradually gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about the excitement of in the entertainment section, but I do want to preface this episode by saying that if my voice sounds a little bit croaky at all, my voice box has not been able to keep up with the number of matches that and the frequency of these Australian matches, and I might have got a little bit animated during the week. Let's just say that much. Yeah. But more on that later. Now, Caroline's not joining us today. She's feeling okay, but she's also got her poor Harry, her younger son, my nephew, injured his wrist. He's okay. But he's also feeling sick as well. So, fractured wrist plus fever equals very, very miserable child and very busy parents. So, So Caroline asked if she could take this one off, and we're praying for you, Caroline, and for Harry, and hopefully he feels better soon and he's back into it before he knows it. All right. With that in mind, if you're new to listening to the Catholics of Oz, welcome. Great to have you here. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast player. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and some positive feedback so that we can hear from you and reach new people. SQPN also hosts all of its shows including the Catholics of Oz on YouTube. You can subscribe there by searching for StarQuest or SQPN. And when you get there, don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe to get notifications of when new episodes are released. And with that, let's talk about Faith Beyond Borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Oh. Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one god, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
So, Lino, today I wanted to actually just talk a little bit about the World Youth Day experience, which has just wrapped up recently. So it was in Lisbon in Portugal from the 1st to the 6th of August. And 1 point something million young people. It was a huge event. The photos of the final mass look absolutely amazing. The crowd numbers were stunning. It's not about the numbers, but the fact that so many young people had chosen to go there, young people, young adults, is quite amazing. And so World Youth Day happens every few years, and it's a time when young people are invited to basically spend a week doing catechesis and building community and building faith. And the highlight, obviously, is the arrival of the Pope, who does prayer and a few things with the pilgrims, including the final mass. And in that final mass is where he announces where the next World Youth Day is going to be. So hint, hint, the next one's going to be in South Korea, which is a little bit more accessible to Australia, probably, in terms of getting there. So just in Asia. So,
it is, yeah. But the trip is shorter in a sense, yeah.
Yeah, probably a little bit cheaper.
Melbourne from Singapore. I'm just looking to think about the trip. So yeah, one to
booking
Europe.
your flights already, Lino. Webjet.com. Here I go. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking the trip because like everyone knows that we've been to Malta and that trip was it was long.
Yeah.
It was long, but this one should be slightly bit shorter, so it won't be too long.
Yeah.
And maybe re-energize for yourself for the great event of your World Youth Day in South Korea.
And look, for all the Aussie K-pop fans, you get two things out of it as well. So,
oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
hint, I'm not really a K-pop fan, but anyway, I know that
I'm a Klingon
K-pop.
K-pop
Yeah, we're a
fan.
fan of that. Yeah, that's
I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Whoops, sorry, wrong segment.
Since that broke the charts, yeah. It became a thing. Yeah, so I just wanted to share a couple of things that, as I was reading about it while it was unfolding, I was sort of just glancing at different bits and pieces that came up. So from an Australian perspective, one thing I did want to share, though, is that the Archdiocese of Melbourne formed a group. I think it was called the Young Leaders or Emerging Leaders Program or something like that. And it was, it was about a special trip which was with Archbishop Peter Comensoli, where they traveled, I think, just from piecing it all together, because I wasn't on it, so I'm trying to piece it together. They went to the Holy Land, they went to Rome, and then they went to Lisbon. I think those were the destinations they went to. Yeah. So
wow, that's a journey and a half. Wow. Well, 2 journeys.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. And with that, Archbishop Comensoli was leading a series of catecheses and, showing the pilgrims around and doing all kinds of, faith experiences with them.
Nice.
One faith experience that popped up on the Archdiocese of Melbourne's social media, and then we got an email about it as well, which is really cool, is that this particular group had a session with Pope Francis. So 120-something people, I think it was, in a room with Pope Francis. So we're not talking like a million people and he looks like a little dot. They were in the room.
That's okay.
Meters away, and he was there doing some catechesis with him, which was beautiful. So
nice.
There's an article which is in the show notes from the Melbourne Catholic, which I've shared. And I thought I might just share a couple of highlights from that as well. The article is called "The Lord is Always by Your Side." So Pope Francis speaks with Melbourne pilgrims. So on the 26th of July in Rome, they had a special private audience as part of the lead up to World Youth Day. And during this meeting, Pope Francis encouraged the pilgrims in their faith journey and happily answered questions on topics ranging from education to evangelization, the environment, and caring for our common home. And he said, "I'm very happy to welcome you here to see such courageous young people." And when asked what message he wanted to get across to young people, he simply said, "The main message I want to get across is that the Lord is always by your side, always. Even in the most difficult moments, he is always with us. He never tires of walking with us." And I just thought I'd add here as well that he wasn't reading from a speech, he was answering questions, and this was his catechesis for young people, which I thought was beautiful. Archbishop Comensoli expressed his gratitude to the Pope for taking time to speak with young Australians, and he said, "To have the Holy Father speak with our young leaders today, to listen to their own experiences, and to encourage them in their journey of faith is a real gift." Melbourne pilgrims laughed and cried while listening to the wisdom of the Holy Father and his words of freedom, accompaniment, joy, and encouragement. The Lord is good. So that was Archbishop Comensoli's words. And in terms of the pilgrims who were there, so some of the people who talked about their experience, it says here that music and religious education teacher Aaron Charles from John Paul College in Frankston was visibly emotional after the papal audience, and he said, "It was incredibly unexpected. I asked Pope Francis what advice he had for us in being able to serve our small communities, and he said, it's not about imparting an idea, but imparting a relationship, guiding your students and allowing them to make mistakes and to be themselves and to grow into their own." And he says, "I cried the whole way through. It was just absolutely moving. And the very first thing I did afterwards was to call mum." So that's
awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So one of the pilgrims said that. This was the article goes on to say that this was their pre-World Youth Day experience in Rome. And then they were going to join the other Amalgam pilgrims, which make a 600 strong group that headed, via Italy, Fatima, Lourdes, all these different ways that they chose to get there.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was one thing there as for the Emerging Leaders Program. Another person who was part of that program, Bridget Taylor, a maths teacher from Clonard College in Geelong, was overjoyed by the experience. And she said, to be honest, it was a bit of a blur. I'm just completely in awe of what I've experienced.
Yeah.
Being an emerging leader passionate about the future of Catholic education, I was fortunate enough to ask what his message was that we can share with our staff and students. He said to accompany our students and to work with our staff, create boundaries, but also give them the freedom to accept whatever faith they follow and to believe in the church. I can't wait to go home and share this with the students, staff at Clonard and the community in Geelong. By the way, all the pilgrim quotes here end with exclamation marks, so you can imagine how excited they were by this beautiful experience.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah, so the article finishes with Archbishop Comensoli saying, World Youth Day will be a time of powerful spiritual encounter with the Lord for each pilgrim in their own personal journey of faith. It is something they cannot help but share on their return, and we look forward to the many fruits that will unfold. So that's the first part of talking about World Youth Day I wanted to share. Lino, what would it be like if you were in that room? Just imagine that you were, a young emerging leader in your 30s, and we were in our 30s once, not long ago. Had you been in that room with 130 people and Pope Francis, what would that have been like for you?
I like that teacher said, that's why I giggled a bit about it was like a blur.
Yeah.
Because you're so excited. You're so trying to concentrate everything. And how long were they for? How long were they for there, Linz? About a week or so, maybe?
In Rome? There would have been a few days in Rome, a few days in the Holy Land, I think. Yeah,
it's like, that's what I mean. It's like almost like a blur. You're trying.
Bit of a whirlwind. Yeah.
It is. You're trying to process everything what's going on. And when you're sitting there listening to the Pope, I would listen to him, also look around and look at all the other people's reactions and trying to take this in and trying to remember how I felt and being in the presence of the Pontiff and in the presence of my fellow Catholics in the group. I would be, I don't know, maybe what's it called, Liz? Sleep deprivation?
Yeah.
Trying to...
Restless. You wouldn't be able to sleep. Yeah,
restless.
For sure.
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
Too much excitement, yeah.
And then, on the plane, I'm trying to sleep and, you're trying to sleep and, sometimes it doesn't work. I'll be exhausted.
Yeah.
But it will be absolutely worth it. Yeah. I'm trying to picture myself in that room and listening to the Pope. And would he be speaking in English or would he be speaking Italian?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure there'd be a translator.
Translator.
Because he can speak English, but it's not great English. Yeah.
Yeah.
A few words. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just mentally visualizing it and hearing that Italian accent and the Italian speech to it. And and of course, understanding what he's saying about the youth and where we need to move with youth and to express our evangelization around.
Yeah.
And at the end, and most of the time, just whisper into Peter Comensoli's ear, can you mention to the Pontiff about our podcast?
Yes.
Maybe, or something like that?
Tell him
to just quickly run away.
Yeah, that's right.
Lino, when you go make it?
Mention the podcast. 1.9 million pilgrims done. Yeah, perfect.
Whoa. Oh, my goodness.
Top podcast in Lisbon the next week.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, talk about pressure.
No, talk about a missed opportunity. We should have told him that.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's true.
No pressure.
No,
One thing that really hit me in the heart was that there were teachers in that room. It was teachers who were sharing. As a Catholic teacher, in a Catholic school, there are so many opportunities, but there are so many challenges as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You want to help the Catholic faith experience be an authentic one, but it can't be what you want it to be. Like you said, he was talking about how letting them grow into their own, let the Lord do his work. So just having trust in God in your role as a teacher in a Catholic school, I think it's beautiful advice. And, just to hear that, there were so many people in tears just from the experience as well. I mean, that's
exactly,
that's not because they're in the room with a celebrity. I think that's the Holy Spirit, right? That's their really,
definitely,
it must have been a very spiritually uplifting moment where they were just so in tune with God, with the Pope. I hope that leaves an indelible mark for the rest of their lives. Really, it's so beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah, maybe I should see if I can get those teachers a job at my school. We'll just see.
Whoa.
Yeah. Anyway,
Whoa,
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Where are those contracts? Hang on. Yeah. So the next part, Lino, that I wanted to talk about is so that was before World Youth Day. Now the end of World Youth Day, right? So the final mass, that they have a final mass together. This one was on the Feast of the Transfiguration. So Lino, if you could read the gospel for that mass for us, you've got it there in front of you, and then I'll talk about Pope Francis' homily. Go for it.
Yep. Yeah, no worries. The gospel according to Matthew. Jesus took Peter, James, and his brother John, and led them up a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When his disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Rise, and do not be afraid. And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. As they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead.
It's an amazing reading on its own. I've just got to say, right, that encounter and listening to that gospel gives me so many links to the encounter that these young leaders had with Pope Francis, right? So
exactly.
In the sense of the feeling, the sense, the faith encounter must have been very similar in so many different ways, right?
Yes.
The Spirit opening up these apostles' hearts to recognize who they were with in that moment. And, the Spirit opening up the hearts of these emerging leaders to realize who they were with, not Pope Francis, but with God, right? So Pope Francis is God's representative. Pope Francis was there speaking, but that would have been a very Spirit-filled experience in which they felt the encounter with God while they spoke to the Pope. It's so different, isn't it? It has a different character, for example, to the experience of having a celebrity, meeting a celebrity that you love, right? That may or may not leave an indelible mark, but certainly when it's a Spirit-filled experience where the Holy Spirit is involved, I think that's with you for the rest of your life. And I feel like
definitely,
I know that these emerging leaders, this will be a story they tell forever, but also another tool for their evangelization toolkit. That the Holy Spirit has left with them, which I think is quite beautiful.
Yes,
yeah. So Pope Francis gave his homily to, I know it was over 1 million. I forgot if it was it must have been 1.2 or it had been close. Anyway, if you Google it, you'll find it. It was definitely over 1 million people. And this is what he said as part of his homily for this mass. So I'll just go through some of it, not all of it. But he said, after these exciting days, surely we feel like repeating the words of the Apostle Peter on the Mount of Transfiguration. Lord, it is good for us to be here. Indeed, how good it has been to share this experience with Jesus, with one another, and to pray together with joyful hearts. Now we can also ask an important question. What will we take back with us as we resume our daily lives? I would like to answer this question with 3 verbs drawing from the gospel we have heard: to shine, to listen, and to be unafraid. What will we take back with us? To shine, to listen, and to be unafraid. So he said, to shine, he says, first of all, Jesus is transfigured. The gospel tells us his face shone like the sun. Shortly before this, he had predicted his passion and death on the cross, shattering the disciples' image of the powerful and worldly Messiah and disappointing their expectations. Now, in order to help them embrace the loving plan that God has for each of us, Jesus takes 3 of the disciples, Peter, James, and John, and leads them up the mountain where he is transfigured. Through this brilliant burst of light, Jesus prepares the disciples for the dark night of the Passion. Dear young friends, today we too need something of this burst of light so that it can fill us with hope as we face the many failures of each day and the darkness that assails us in life, and respond to them with the light of the resurrection of Jesus. For he is the light that never sets, the light that shines even in the dead of night. And so then he went on to talk about to listen, the second verb, and he said, on the mountain, a bright cloud overshadowed the disciples. And what does it tell us? This cloud from which the Father speaks. This is my Son, the Beloved. Listen to him. Listen to him. To listen to Jesus, that is life's secret. Listen to what Jesus is saying to you. But I don't know what he is saying to me. Well, take the Gospels and read there what Jesus is saying, what he is saying to your heart. For he has the words of eternal life for us. He reveals that God is our Father and that God is love. He shows us the way of love. Listen to Jesus. Otherwise, even if we set out with good intentions along paths that seem to be of love, in the end, those paths will be seen as selfishness disguised as love. Be careful of selfishness disguised as love. Listen to Jesus, for he will show you which paths of those to love. Listen to him. The first word to shine, so to be radiant. Then listen in order not to take the wrong path. Finally, be unafraid. Do not be afraid. We often find these words in the Bible. In the Gospels, do not be afraid. These were the last words spoken by Jesus to the disciples at the moment of the transfiguration. Do not be afraid. As young people, you have experienced these days of joy. I was about to say of glory, and instead our encounters have been a kind of glory. You have great dreams, but often fear that they may not come true. Sometimes you think that you are not up to the challenge, which is the kind of pessimism that can overcome us at times. As young people, you may be tempted at times to lose heart, to think you fall short, or to disguise your pain with a smile. As young people, you want to change the world, and it is very good that you want to change the world. You want to work for justice and peace. You devote your life's energy and creativity to this, but it still seems insufficient. Yet the church and the world need you, the young, as much as the earth needs rain. To all of you, dear young people who are present and future, yes, to all of you, Jesus now says, have no fear, do not be afraid. And then he finished off by saying, dear young people, I would like to look into the eyes of each of you and say, do not be afraid. I will tell you something else, also very beautiful. It is no longer I, but Jesus himself who is now looking at you. He knows each of your hearts, each of your lives. He knows your joys, your sorrows, your successes and failures. He knows your heart. Today he says to you here in Lisbon at this World Youth Day, have no fear, take heart, do not be afraid. And Lino, I had shivers, just reading it before this podcast, but also reading it just now. A beautiful reflection on the transfiguration and for those young people there. Any thoughts on that homily yourself?
Yeah, totally. I love when he's put him in 3 sections into to shine, to listen, to be unafraid. And that's a way of communicating with everyone in a respectful way. You know what I mean? Instead of the politicians having an argument back and forth, back and forth. Are you shining, politician? No. Are you listening? You know what I mean? But for us, it's a great step in this communication between everyone in this world. You know, especially when we have someone who has problems in their life, and especially when you were saying about the youth as well. And we talked about this before, and the youth has been bombarded by social media, left, right, and center. And where do they find guidance within all this stuff? And there it is. There's Pope Francis is saying to them to shine, to listen, and to be unafraid. It's a communication with each other.
Yeah,
not really communications with each other through. They could use social media if you can.
Yeah,
and like we've talked about this in a positive way. But just to talk and chat with each other, what would it do? And the Transfiguration's a great example of that.
Yeah,
for all the young and out there.
Yeah. I think the to listen was the really strong one for me. In that Pope Francis, he's saying listen to Jesus, and they might say, how do I listen to Jesus? He says, well, open up the Gospels. He's already speaking to us in the Gospels right there. You don't need to go very far, right? He's already speaking.
Exactly.
I think that's good because he said that, if we're not careful, we develop a selfish kind of love rather than the right kind of love that Jesus wants us to show that changes the world, right? And changes hearts. And
exactly.
You can see examples, right? By their fruits, you'll know them, as scripture tells us, right? You can see when someone uses the gospel for their own gain, if that makes sense, like they speak like they have the authority of Jesus, like, because I believe in Jesus, I'm the superior, therefore listen to me. And you see that, right? Sometimes, like, it's this, I'm the better one because I've got Jesus and you're inferior one. So out you go, right? It's very, I mean, it's not a surprise because, you just look at the behavior of the Pharisees and some other people that Jesus would clash with from time to time. But I think this listening to Jesus, because, I mean, again, you're not listening to Jesus when you do that, are you? Instead of listening, you're telling Jesus in a way, and you're telling others, listen to me. You're saying, listen to me, not listen to him, right? Whereas I think this, when he says listen to Jesus, the other thing I think about is how humbling it is to listen to Jesus. And
definitely,
we're not being asked to listen to Jesus and then become dominant with the voice of Christ. We're being asked to listen to Jesus, and in that listening to surrender. And when we surrender our lives to Jesus, then we're living out the love that God wants us to share with the world. Yeah, and then we're making the change that needs to be changed in the hearts of others. Exactly. And I think it's a beautiful, the homily is very short, right? But it's so beautifully, and like you said, in those 3 words, to shine, to listen, to be unafraid, it so beautifully sums up the Christian life in so many ways, right? And this is what he's told. Definitely. He's encouraging these 1.2 million young people to go back and do this. And when we say young people, I should clarify, in the church's language, young people is anyone from about the age of 16 to 35, which is why you heard of teachers in that emerging leaders group, right? So it's this is the audience that World Youth Day is aimed at. And, those oldies that get to go with them are very lucky because you got to get some, get someone supervised. I'll do it next time. But, yeah. Definitely. Anyone who's listening who's been to World Youth Day will instantly feel the flame of their experience, I think, whether they're with John Paul II or Benedict XVI, which I was fortunate to experience, here in Australia. Or Pope Francis or whoever it was that you saw at World Youth Day. Oh, well, there's only 3 you could have seen, sorry. Because John Paul started it. Sorry. Yeah, of course. There's only been 3 World Youth Day popes so far.
Yes, so far, yeah.
But anyone who listens to this will know that flame of faith that World Youth Day does inspire in us to continue doing our work in the world. Yeah, so why don't we wrap it up there? To all those people who went to World Youth Day, well done, right? Because it's a huge sacrifice. I know it's not a holiday for you. We've, again, if you've been, it's not a holiday. There's a lot of joy, but there's a lot of sacrifice as well.
Yes,
it can be financially draining. It can be physically draining. You're not necessarily sleeping in the nicest hotels and whatever else all the time. You're doing whatever needs to be done. There's a lot of walking and pilgrimage and going from place to place. So well done to all of you, and I pray especially for the Australian pilgrims that the flame of faith, wherever you are in your situation, will be inspiring and evangelizing for those around you, and obviously anyone around the world who's been as well. And if anyone who's listening did go and would like to share their experiences, if you'd like to write to us about it, please do, because we would be more than happy to share that experience with everyone else as well on this show.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so shall we move on, Lino? Let's talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
Science. Yeah, I like science.
So it's one of those things, Lino, where talking about science without Caroline means we're on our own.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we've done great topics. Come on, guys.
We've had some, actually,
we've had a few good ones, yeah.
We get to bring the kind of like funny ones, like that are a bit funnier, a bit quirkier.
But it's science, but it's a great little twist inside. And Caroline's science segments are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I actually learned from Caroline's once. So.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yours and my science is like, it's on the level of like Ripley's Believe It or Not, with sprinkled with a dusting of science. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's correct. That's correct. Look, this is the science where you guys have chosen that. Yeah. It's borderline between does it really happen, or what's going on here? We need to listen more.
All right, Lino, let's get the score sheet out, okay? So
okay.
Lino and Lindsay's first science for the year, I believe it was Roman concrete. Is that right?
Roman concrete.
All right, so self-strengthening concrete. So that was a good one, yeah? All right, our second one was melting robots.
Melting robots.
Robots that could, shape themselves, reshape themselves. Yeah, right, yep. And the third one, mushrooms. We talked about mushrooms, how they communicate with each other.
Yes. Communication mushrooms.
Yeah.
And there's a science behind it. And there are the facts. And they are. We're not making it up.
Yep.
There was just definitely jokes. Come on,
Yeah.
it had to be. And I think we got into trouble. Anyway,
I don't know if we got into trouble. I think, no, only with Caroline. No, not really. No. So our, although there were a lot of jokes, like sort of dad jokes and puns, there were a few on Discord, about mushrooms. That was, which I liked, by the way. Well done with that. There were a few contenders for today's science. All right. So
Okay.
one was a prehistoric animal. I can't even remember what it was about. I forgot. All right. It was interesting, but, whatever.
Okay. I love dinosaurs. I love
yeah, I know. And it's actually when Caroline brings, like, we talked about ancient drop bears once, and that was amazing, right?
Whoa,
Caroline brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe how big they were back in those days.
The other one I had was about a sea creature that they found that looks very much like a face hugger from Aliens, which I thought was
it? Oh yeah, I think I saw
yeah, you saw that? Yeah. It looked like it was going to, just like wrap itself around your face, and
yeah, whoa.
However, I thought we might swoop in a different topic. And that is, it's a very Australian topic, and that is the topic of actually the science of surviving a magpie swooping. Now, this is both a funny topic and a serious topic at the same time, because we do have a thing about laughing about getting swooped by magpies, by these birds, because it happens. As the spring starts to roll around, the magpie attacks start to increase. And, sometimes there are videos that are quite funny or quite like, whoa, like helmet cameras of magpies, like, pecking away at someone's helmet while they go through, their territory and whatever. However, there have also been things like eye injuries, ear, they attack ears, And for anyone who says, yes, Australia is full of animals that are trying to kill me, you win this one. All right. This is yours. You can have it.
Wow.
You can have it. So I thought I might just set the tone. For anyone who doesn't know what a magpie is, this is what they sound like. All right, so that's a magpie sound.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know what? Actually, in my research, magpies are highly intelligent birds. And their singing is actually quite beautiful, and they can learn different tunes as well. So they teach
them. Yeah,
they teach each other to sing. There's a clip in the show notes so the clip I just played was royalty free, so I can play it 100 times. The clip I wanted to also play is on YouTube, so I don't want to get us banned on YouTube, or I don't want to blow up the network just because of a bird noise. So it's in the show notes. There's one where and it was during I think it was the 2019 bushfires. Don't get me wrong about this, but in a particular area, I think of New South Wales, a magpie learned the sirens of the firefighters, the fire engines, the fire trucks, I should say. And the magpie, it actually makes the sound of just over and over again. It makes the fire truck sound.
Cool.
So they can learn tunes. Nice. And, but it kind of tells you how many fire trucks must have been going through the area for the magpie to learn that sound as well, how serious the fires were. But and there are other ones. There's an old clip on YouTube from the 1970s of a guy surrounded by magpies on his porch, and he's playing harmonica and they're singing along with him. And so magpies are, they're interesting because they can be friendly birds to humans. They can learn your face and recognize you as someone you can trust. But they can also be quite dangerous in other situations as well. And we're not talking about dangerous. Yeah, we're not talking about dangerous in like forests and bushes. We're talking about on streets, in parks, in very local places. So this is how serious it is. Someone set up a website called magpiealerts.com. There's a link in the show notes. And what happens is users can type in where and when they've encountered a magpie, and then there's a map of Australia that you can zoom in on, and you can click on. You'll see little magpies that are yellow or red. Yellow meaning they've been swooping, red meaning someone was actually like injured, they drew blood.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And you can click and you can see what the incident was. And, there were actually a couple around Narre Warren, which was a bit scary for me. But anyway, So here is what 3 people said. So the first one, this was on the 11th of August this year. So already even in our cold weather, we've had some sunny weather and the magpies are already starting a little bit early. So magpie attack on cyclist, 12 Burke Street, Windale, New South Wales. Just west of the skate park, came out of the tree in the south and swooshed through my hair and then went back in the tree to observe with his beady eyes. That was the first one. The second one, August the 16th. And these are ones that I've just pulled. There's actually 180 something at the moment.
Yeah. Wow.
Magpie attack on cyclists. The C9 Western Creek ACT. So this is a bike track near a freeway, I think. Old mate up to his usual tricks again. Mainly a problem on the inbound side of Cotter Road, just past the Parkway off-ramp. You should be fine if you stick to the separated bike path on the south side of Cotter Road. Not that aggressive in Magpie terms. Probably a 6 out of 10. Needs to try harder. All right, so that was the. I know, right? Yeah, just you are asking for trouble, my friend. If you don't,
Oh, buddy,
you are asking for trouble. Don't encourage, And this last one is Magpie attack on Walker 5 Leslie Court, Salisbury East, South Australia 5109. All right, so it said bird relentlessly swooped me. Did not touch my head though, but it followed me up the road, even though I tried to lose it by changing direction. Eventually, we had a stare standoff, and it gave up and flew away. Yeah, so those are magpie encounters. There are many, many more. I didn't bring the ones up where it drew blood, but there are a couple where someone, had an injured eye, injured ears, mainly things like that. Yeah. So I myself, in recent weeks, have also been partaking in the magpie swooping as well. Not as a magpie, but as a as one who was harassed. Yeah, as one who was harassed. I was a participant in some magpie harassment. And I won't give the address and the location or else like these guys have. However, at my school, there is a clump of trees on the oval where during spring, the magpies start to lay eggs and do nests and whatever else. So there were some children in an out of bounds area of the oval. So I was on yard duty. So I was just doing my teacherly duty to walk over and, move them on to go and be silly and play in the grass somewhere else. So suddenly, while I was walking, completely unaware, I heard a swoosh and felt the wind, and I felt the wind on my ear, and that of the wings flapping. All right.
Oh yeah.
And then I heard the it was above my head. So first it flew past my head, which was scary enough, right? Then I could hear it. It was flying above my head and flapping. That's what they do. They kind of fly above you and flap almost stationary, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Like hovering.
Almost like hovering with their wings, right? And they caw at you, right? And so I straight away, my adrenaline, I felt cold. It was a warm day and I felt cold, all right, down my spine. And so I stayed calm, at least on the inside. On the outside, I mean. On the inside, I was freaking out. And I just gently walked in the, in a straight line until it gave up on me and had enough, right? And there were three students like sitting on this rock, and I'm like, guys, I'm just gonna sit here for a minute because my heart is pounding at the moment. And they're like, they're laughing or whatever. I was like, whatever. And it's like, all right. So I crossed through its territory to one side. I needed to get back to the other side. Yeah. So I thought, all right, well, I'll walk around. I'll respect the bird and I'll walk around. Yeah. All right. Yep, so I walked. I did this big arc, like almost orbiting these trees, right? I was a big arc, but it wasn't enough. It came after me again. And so same thing, right? This time above my head and, and then so it freaked me out. So now when I do that yard duty, there's only a certain point where I'll go up to it, then and I won't go any closer. And what's even worse is it doesn't seem to be going for any of the children. It seems to be targeting the adults that are on yard duty.
Whoa, okay, Dad, I do not understand.
As an experiment, because I thought it was my fluoro.
Lindsay.
So I thought it was my fluoro vest, right? Because we have to wear a fluoro vest so that we're visible. All know that we're out there and we're keeping them safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Okay. When you said experiment, Liz, I thought
I did some science. All right. So the next day, I was on yard because I do it on a Thursday and Friday every 2 weeks, right? So on the next day, I was on yard duty again. This time I thought, I'll leave the vest so that it will leave me alone. It will say I'm not a threat. It should be okay, right?
Okay.
So and it was a bit cooler, so I just put my black jacket on. Some boys in the out of bounds area again, doing the being naughty and whatever. So I walked to the area. Even with the black jacket, it swooped me again, and I was
it must sort of noticed you, yeah.
And I wonder if it memorized my face and it's like red alert, threat. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, exactly. Wow.
So that leads us into a bit of science of magpies. So I've got an article here, Lino, from science.org.au, and it's called How to Survive Magpie Swooping Season. And it says, spring is the season for blooming flowers, frolicking lambs, and the wild beak-clacking terror of swooping birds.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just go through a couple of things here from this article. And there's a video which is really good, which you can watch as well. And there's some video clips that are pretty intense of like people's like magpie encounters too. Like again, like some people wear helmet cams on their bicycles. And
yes, they do now.
And you've got a magpie right in your face on this camera. So there are a few, It says springtime is baby time, which means it's also protect your chick time for magpie mums and dads across Australia. Australian magpies, or Gymnorina tibicin, I think it is, are protective parents. Every year between July and November, magpie dads spend 4 to 6 weeks keeping watch over their nesting site for unwelcome intruders. If a threat is spotted, the male may swoop in a defensive warning display. And by the way, not may, they do, going from personal experience.
Yes. Yeah,
although other causes of swooping behavior have been proposed, including territoriality and testosterone levels, research suggests that nest defense is an underlying reason. By the way, every time it mentions research, there's a link that goes to an actual research paper, which I haven't read because there's lots of them, but you can go further if you want to. So, targets of swooping behavior can include cyclists, joggers, walkers, pets, birds of prey, and even other magpies. Some magpies display marked preferences for swooping certain people, like teachers, with some specifically targeting posties and other dive bombing cyclists. By the way, it's got joggers and walkers and cyclists. It's always the joggers, walkers, and cyclists. Like I've seen Law and Order, right? No wonder magpies are, because they're really sus, yeah? So it goes on to say, a swoop can catch you unawares. And again, I agree with this completely. Occasionally, magpie swoops can even cause injury. But is the aggressive and dangerous reputation of this songbird deserved? I'll pause there for a moment, and I want to say this. In my reading about magpies and in the videos I watched, I actually came to respect and love how beautiful they are. They are beautiful birds.
They are.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are a couple, because of defending their eggs, they have this aggressive tendency. So it says here that swooping is a strategy to safeguard the nest site, but the species itself is neither inherently dangerous nor aggressive. And this is Emeritus Professor Gisela Kaplan. Yeah. And she's a professor in animal behavior at the University of New England who spent the last 25 years studying magpies. So it says, though, in practice, however, swooping magpies can be dangerous, according to Professor Daryl Jones, a behavioral ecologist at Griffith University. So here's what we've got. One professor is saying they're not inherently dangerous, aggressive birds. So, for example, if there's one on the grass while you're going for a walk, picking worms out of the ground, it's not going to be bothered by you at all. All right, we know that.
Yeah,
we've seen. All of us have walked past hundreds of magpies. How you doing? And you keep going, right?
How you doing?
No problem.
And they keep going. Yeah, you just like everything else, you sort of leave them alone. You know what I mean? And they would be right.
Yeah, and so this professor Daryl Jones, he goes on to point out why they can be aggressive. So he says there are important reasons for accepting that magpies actually are aggressive. He says for very sensible reasons, such as keeping threats away from their precious nestlings. And they most certainly can be extremely dangerous. Thousands of people are injured every year. Welcome to Australia, I say. And so they're dangerous when they're protecting their young. That's
exactly.
They're doing what they are programmed to do, right? Keep threats away from their eggs.
Yep.
And that could be threats in nature, or it can be teachers on yard duty who, for some reason, they think of threats, and cyclists and joggers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it says breeding magpies are high achievers of magpie society. They have survived years of hardship, fought hard to get territory, and have been able to find a partner. Only 1 in 20 magpie males will engage in swooping antics, while mama magpie incubates alone. 80% of humans living in magpie territory never get swooped. The 20% of us who do experience the swooping usually encounter pies in public places such as parks and busy roads. So how can you avoid this swooping this season? And what should you do if you get assailed by an overprotective bird? So the headline for this next section is how to deal with a feathered torpedo. That's the You're right. So Okay, so it says the best antidote to swooping is friendship. Magpies have excellent memories and can recognize individual faces. So if you frequent an area enough, they may recognize you as the friendly neighborhood human and won't swoop. But beware, magpies form memories, and I feel this is the category I'm in now, form memories of enemies as well as of friends. So it says those who antagonize a magpie, for example, by swinging at them with an umbrella, I did not do that, will be perceived as threats and will be treated as such. So be kind, and magpies will be kind in return. I have not experienced that part yet. And by the way, I've done nothing. I haven't waved my arms around or made noises. I've just walked on calmly. But I think because lots of people go through that area, it can't recognize, a friendly face. It's just like enemy.
Yeah,
enemy.
I think exactly. With you guys going through like a same sort of path, yeah.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, this person's going, oop, we'll swoop. It doesn't really matter who it is.
Yeah.
If it's a teacher or a student, I'm going for that person.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So here's what it says to do. It says, in this case, it's important to stay cool because wildly flinging your arms over your head is interpreted as aggressive behavior. And the magpie will subsequently double his efforts to drive you away. So,
yes.
So you have to stay calm while you're being attacked by a magpie. You can't be like, like hands in the air or whatever, because it will say, oh my gosh, it's a big threat. Quick, I've got to, attack. So the professor in this article suggests moving away quietly from the birds' nests and engaging in calm conversation. And it says here, while showing your face gives the magpie a chance to remember you. So follow below that is a sign from the Brisbane City Council warning people that this is a swooping area. So you can see that in the show notes. There are signs placed where magpie swooping is known to happen. So,
oh my God, she's got to look up. Sorry, Lindsay was going to find a picture of it quickly. There's a few of them who do that too.
Yeah. There are smaller
Noisy
birds that swoop. Yes, yeah.
Oh my goodness, man, I never knew those guys swoop. I always thought Mackies.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've been swooped by noisy miners, but they're not really as threatening, right? They're quite small, and you can see that their beak is smaller. Like it might hurt a little bit, but it's the beak of the magpie, which is really, that's the one you got to watch out for, right?
Exactly, and it's I don't know what it's called, a cousin or the another breed, maybe the crow.
Species,
the crow
yeah.
The crow is like the magpie, just without the colors. I mean, they're distant cousins, or I think brothers, or same sort of family, isn't it? But the crows do. Whoa, yeah, they bite hard.
Yeah, so I'm just going down a little bit more. So it talks about how there are some magpies called super swoopers, and they're males who are really, really, really dangerous. And it says it's better just to avoid them completely. Don't try and befriend them. And it's because birds in these situations just can't recognize faces, so they get ultra defensive. And it talks about the Magpie Alert website, which I talked about. It says, just check, see if swooping are being reported in those areas. And it does say, try to keep eye contact with them. So you've got to be careful about this, right? Because, there's also protecting your face as well. So you've got to be careful. But if you are able to make eye contact with it, apparently that's how it recognizes your face and sees that you're not a threat. But that doesn't necessarily work all the time. So you've got to be really, really careful. So it says, what about bicycles? What's the deal with magpies and bicycles? Because it seems to attack them a lot. So it says, attaching googly eyes or cable ties to your helmet isn't effective. In fact, it seems like helmets are an issue, as swoops increased after the introduction of mandatory helmet laws in New South Wales in 1994. So, and this is because, so helmets obscure a person's face, meaning the magpie can't determine whether the rider is a friend or a foe.
Whether the rider is a friend or a foe. That sort of makes sense, yeah.
And also, the speed of cyclists also appears to be a factor, as more often than not, dismounting and walking away slowly will stop the swoopnado, is what it says here. Yeah, so apparently, if you get swooped by a magpie while you're cycling, you need to get off your bike and just walk, and apparently that's better, unless, of course, it's one of those super swoopers. And it says if you're really having trouble getting your locals to become feathered friends, the occasional tidbit of heart smart mints can help, but beware of feeding them too often, as forage food is better for wild birds.
Yeah.
So with friendship in humans, you don't need to feed your friends all the time. You have to have them over for dinner occasionally. The same is true of birds, says Professor Kaplan. The occasional feeding is a mark of friendship. So I'm just wondering if next time on Yard, I should walk around with a handful of mints and see if it's better. I don't know.
Oh, Linz, you're gonna make great friends, man. But just quickly, at work we have a pair of magpies who come to us because my coworker, she feeds them a bit of bread, and if I'm out there without her, they recognize me with her. You know what I mean? And they'll be asking me. They'll jump up on the lunch table and look at me and go, sorry,
food?
Sorry, buddy. Yeah, food. I go, no, sorry, mate, I don't have any. And then ignore them and they'll walk away.
Wow.
But it's every time I'm up there with my workmate, she and I were eating lunch together. Yeah,
Yeah.
The magpies will come and ask for it, but you got to be careful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Can't feed them too long.
No, that's right. Yeah. And they need to eat, what they forage as well. Like human food is not always,
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So I'll finish with a positive note, as the article does here. It says that magpies are smart, all right? So they are placed among the 20 most intelligent animals in the world. And it says they also have a lot of character. A magpie's behavior is far more like a dog's. I would love the next magpie I encounter to go on the floor, roll over on its back, and let me scratch its belly, all right? I'd be happy for that. I would do that for the magpie, all right? I would do that for the magpie if it was, if it was nice. So it says, though, they enjoy sunbathing, play fighting, frolicking in sprinklers, and swinging on washing lines. And they even enjoy singing just for the fun of it, like humming, like humans do. Although they may be common in urban areas, and this is a sad part, magpie populations have been declining along the East Coast since 1998. Urban populations are increasing as drought forces the birds from inland to the coast. But overall, these iconic species is in decline. And that's a sad thing, right? So it says, the solution here it says is we need to live to learn alongside those overprotective parents for their continued survival. After all, we still have lots to discover about these super smart songbirds. And Kaplan finishes by saying, over 25 years, there has never been a boring moment with magpies. They still surprise. So,
yes, I do.
Yeah, so that's magpies, Lino. Anything else you want to say to finish off this segment?
Well, look, magpies are beautiful birds in our country. And like everything else, we need to adapt with them. Because they've been here, I know I'm sort of maybe doing a little sort of a lecture here, but they've been here for thousands and thousands of years.
Well, they're nature, aren't they? Yeah.
Exactly. And we need to adapt with them. And we need to learn from them. And we need to live with them as well. As I like I'm saying is be alert, be friendly with them. And if they attack you, yes, it can be very stressful.
Yes.
And surprising.
It can.
Tell me about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I remember just quickly one time was back when we were working at our first place in Mulgrave. There used to be a particular tree. And I will always walk around, walk on the other side of the street away from the tree because there was a magpie always swooping people there. Not only me, but other people. I've seen it. And it is a very sometimes scary sound because you don't hear it.
Yes, yeah. You don't hear it until it's right on you. Yeah.
And right on you.
Yeah,
he just
yeah.
And they come up. And there is a reason for that because they are protecting your young.
Yes.
And that is with everyone. We're trying to protect our children.
Yeah,
protecting our families. That's their way of doing it.
That's their way of doing it. Exactly.
And if you can, be friend with them. But
yes, if you can befriend them, that's good. If the areas, if they're a super swooper or they're just not friending you at all, and it's your walk or your bicycle, your cycling route, it may be wiser to change your routes just for a little bit until Maggie's moved on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. But on a serious note, obviously be safe as well, please. There's that strategies in that article, and there are lots of other strategies you can look at online to be safe. And be careful of some strategies that you're told which actually antagonize them and make them want to attack you more. Just just separate the facts from fiction so you know what to do.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So let's wrap it up there, Lino. And with that, let's move on and talk about entertainment.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Not what we came here to do.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. I have part of a plan. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So we're a little short on time, Lino. So let's whip through a few things. Right, so I've got a brief one that I'll mention because I know we want to talk about the soccer quickly. So briefly, I've been watching a show on Netflix called The Lincoln Lawyer. Now, I was curious about this show because, as many know, I am a fan of Bosch, which is another TV series. It's a police drama, and it's written by the author. It was originally came from the novels written by the author Michael Connelly. So then I came across Netflix was advertising season 2 of The Lincoln Lawyer, written by Michael Connelly. So I thought, this might be interesting. So it turns out in the novels that there's a relationship between the two. I think they're like half brothers or something. Bosch and Mickey Haller, who's the lawyer in the Lincoln Lawyer. Apparently they're like half brothers.
Oh,
or something
wow.
like that. Yeah.
Oh, well, so it's sort of a connection. Yeah, okay.
But in the series, they can't do that because the two series are on different networks. So there's not going to be any
different networks.
no relationship.
Oh, goodness me. You can do a crossover. Sorry, quickly. You can do a crossover. Come on. NCIS have done it.
Yeah, they could do a multiverse thing. I don't know.
Yeah, NCIS did it with Y50. Come on. It'd be different. Oh, anyway. All good. Yeah.
I do want my crossover. So anyway, this one is a law-based drama, and it's
cool.
it doesn't break any molds or anything, but it is just great characters again, really interesting story, twists and turns about how he as a lawyer figures out things that are going on, and I really enjoy it. And the draw card, I guess, is that he's called the Lincoln Lawyer because he does his best work while he's being driven around from place to place. Some of the driving trips take half an hour to an hour, so he doesn't want to sit there wasting time.
Yeah.
So his car kind of becomes like his office. So he's being driven around and he goes through notes and he thinks about cases and, and prepares himself and things like that. So I really enjoy it. It's really good. It's very much in the tone of Bosch in the way it's filmed too. So if you're a fan of Bosch, I don't think it'd be too difficult to move across to the Lincoln Lawyer. I think you'd enjoy what there is in that too. So there's that one.
Cool.
Shall we quickly say a few things about the soccer and then wrap up the show?
Oh my goodness me, yes.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh my goodness me. That penalty shootout.
Yes.
It was a classic.
Australians have been enamored with the Women's World Cup, which is being hosted by Australia and New Zealand. And the TV viewing ratings are off the charts. Millions and millions and millions of Australians.
Totally off the charts, yep.
Watching this tournament. And we've been losing our voices and going absolutely crazy and our mind for our women's team, the Matildas, who have just been absolutely stunning in this tournament.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They were sadly knocked out in the semi-final against England, but the Lino was just referring there to the Australian versus France game, and there was a 20-minute penalty shootout with I think 18 kicks, which is.
18 kicks or 20 shots? Oh, no. I'm getting confused.
Or was it 20 shots? Oh, yeah, 18 or 20, yeah. But however...
But it was so good. Oh, my goodness me. Yes.
France had the advantage.
They did.
Australia had the advantage and then flubbed it. And then France again. And then Australia eventually had the advantage and scored the goal. And Lino, no one will ever see the way I danced around my living room. It was so undignified. I was shouting and dancing, and I had my youngest son in my arms, and I was throwing him up and down. And
goodness me!
He was laughing and giggling. No, he was really enjoying himself. And in fact, he wants to watch soccer with me now, so I can throw him up and down again. But I went absolutely bananas for that match. And then 3 days later, we had Wednesday where Australia was knocked out versus England. However, we were losing 1-0, if you remember. And then Sam Kerr.
Oh my goodness me! Her run.
As Craig Foster said, as John Aloisi, another Australian soccer hero, he said she made something out of nothing. She went through 3 defenders, and then from a fairly decent distance, she kicks this amazing high goal.
Oh,
and I was, all right, you know what? This is why my throat box, my voice box is hurting, because I just, I'm surprised no one called the police to investigate a house in Murray Warren, because I went wild. I went absolutely wild with joy. It was so amazing, the thrill. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Now, sadly, we lost 3-1.
Yeah.
However, it was a good match. England deserved to win. They played a good game of rugby, is what I've been saying, the way that they played.
They were tough. They were tough. I think one of the commentators was saying that. The coach was saying, you got to be tough on Sam Kerr and all these other players.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've been through... that penalty shoutout. I'm not saying they were fatigued or anything, but just give them a bit of a nudge and hear. Some of the nudges are a bit. Oh gosh, Lindsay.
Yeah. They were more than nudges. Yeah, as I say, at a rugby match, they were really flying into each other.
Almost like a hip and shoulder that we have in the AFL.
AFL,
Like, okay, settle down. It's a wrong sport, girls. Settle down. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Actually, the way some of the Matildas playing, I was thinking, did they start playing AFL at AFLW at some point? Or were they
I was basically,
playing footy as they were growing up? The way that they were doing, some of the ways that they played, So congratulations to England and good luck in the final, As I was joking, I was joking the other day, go Spain. I know, because I was joking. That was a joke, yeah.
Hey, we love our English friends and our listeners. We love you all.
Yeah. Good, healthy rivalry in sport. I love it. I love a good rivalry without the meanness and the rudeness. I love a healthy rivalry, and now we've got one, which is great.
Yep. That's right.
So, what is it now? As you were saying, at time of recording this afternoon. Or this evening, the Matildas we have the joy of seeing the Matildas play one more time for third place against Sweden, and my poor voice box. By Monday, I'm just going to be writing down what I want to say and showing it to people, holding up pieces of paper.
Oh no! What's what it called? Cue cards.
Yeah, I'll have cue cards exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'll just have some standard yes and no ones, and then
you're like this. Lindsay, you're gonna put a thumbs up. Well, the thumbs down. No,
it's like when your phone auto predicts replies for you. I'm gonna have something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Lindsay.
All right. So with that, let's wrap up the show, Lino. So before we go, first of all, we want to thank you all for listening to episode 104 of the Catholics of Oz, and we would like to thank all of the patrons who make it possible for us to create this show. Today, especially, we'd like to thank Maria X, Tim L, Daniel E, Kevin N, and Gary J. Through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give, they make it possible for the Catholics of Oz and all of the other shows on StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. You can see our show notes and links from today's episode, including swooping magpies, at sqpn.com/Oz, spelled OZ. And while you're at the SQPN website, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter, sqpn.com/about/newsletter, to find out about some updates about your favorite shows. And check out all of our socials. So on Facebook, it's facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. On Twitter, it's at SQPN. For ourselves, on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Catholics of Oz. And don't forget Discord, sqpn.com/Discord, to sign up and join the community and discussion about our latest episodes. And also, you can email us at good old email, catholicsofoz@sqpn.com. Lino, thank you so much for being part of the show today.
It has been a swooping advantage, Lindsay. Swooping great. Yeah, thank you very much, Lindsay, and everyone else. And hopefully we'll see Caroline soon.
Yeah, not only was it swooping, Lino, I thought we scored a few goals today in our episode.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Really
this World Cup has been amazing.
Stunning.
Amazing.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah. And
Yep.
Once again, I'm Lindsay Sant, and thank you so much for listening to episode 104 of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy, Raising the Bets. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/bets. That's BETTS, bets.